Welcome. Welcome to New Light Living Podcast. Today, I have an amazing guest, Michelle Henderson. And I'd love for every one of you to get to know her better. And let's just dive into it. Michelle, welcome.
Well, thank you so much. And I think that we have an amazing host as well.
Oh,
So I
thank
am so thrilled to be here. Thank you so much.
So let's just, as I said, let's dive into this wonderful topic that we have today of embracing your family's intuitive gifts. So before we do that, let's tell the audience about you. Who are you, Michelle, and what do you do?
Oh my goodness, do you have all day? Oh, I'm just kidding. I won't go there. So, well, pretty much my whole life, I have been an educator and a teacher, and I don't think I'll ever leave that. I feel like I'm still educating and teaching others, even though it may not be in a school system. I have, since COVID happened, I came out as a psychic medium. So I have been working as a psychic medium, going to classes and trying to really hone into my skills. And so that is what I'm doing now. And as I got trained in everything, I thought, you know what? I've got to become an author, and I've got to really be a big advocate for children who are intuitive. So I actually wrote a book, and that has really kept me busy.
Yes, and I have to show everyone. I actually have a copy of Michelle's book, so everyone go get it. It's a wonderful book.
And I love that little girl. I wish I knew her name. You know, it's a beautiful picture, with her looking up to spirit.
Yes. Yes. And just as a little sidebar about your own journey, how you said during COVID, during this past 2 years, you have come out as a psychic medium, but have you always known that, I should ask?
Well, it's pretty much been a lifetime journey. So whenever I was younger, I could feel different energies and different environments. And I was a very empath child and very sensitive. I cried constantly. So I feel like when I'd come home from school, I'd pick up other people's feelings, and I wouldn't know why I was sad or why I was happy. I just cried all the time. And I also had an intuitiveness about whenever I met somebody. I knew a lot about them, even though they didn't tell me much about themselves. So in the beginning, I thought it was normal. I thought everybody's like this. And then as I got stronger and I started hearing voices, spirit started talking to me, going, what is going on? And it was my early 20s. So I reached out to some friends, and they're saying, don't go there. Because I live in Texas where, very conservative, and grew up in a conservative town and being Christian. And of course, I love my background. So, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that I grew up the way I did. But whenever it came to the paranormal or something different that was happening, no one wanted to talk about it. So I didn't have that support. So I didn't really dive into it until a little bit later in my 30s. And then I found a mentor that helped me along the way. And she said, oh, Michelle, this is what's going on. You're perfectly fine. And then I got to meet more and more people who were experiencing the same thing I was. And they're going, that is perfectly normal. Just, accept who you are. And so during COVID, I don't know what it is. I think everybody kind of started thinking about themselves and about their life. And I was no different. I thought it is time to come out. And my husband was 100% supportive. He said, you need to do this. He always knew I was intuitive because I'd start going into the kids' room, and he'd go, where are you going? I said, well, our baby's about to cry. And he's going, no way. And sure enough, so he knew I had that intuitiveness since he married me. So very, very supportive.
Yes. And what a great message and journey you've had as an example, giving also anyone who's listening or watching this right now who have a similar journey as Michelle has, because there's so many of us that are ready now to open up our own gifts and talents in a myriad of ways. But it's your example is just really a beautiful one of embracing your truth. And so I just wanted to make sure we bring that out in the beginning, because it's truly
Absolutely.
magic. Yeah.
And I think everybody just needs to trust in the process, because sometimes you do have to learn along the way and go, well, maybe I'm not ready to really do anything with it, but it doesn't mean that you can still use it in your life.
Exactly.
So just like the
Yeah.
sign says behind you, trust in the process.
Yes. Trust in the process. So if we go back to today's topic around how to embrace your, not only your own intuitive gifts, but also in your family, how do you feel, Michelle, that this topic is relevant to the times we're living in?
Oh my goodness, I think it is so important. If a family does not have a religion, I think it's so important for them to have some type of spirituality. So they need to really, conquer that and just teach your children that there is a higher source, whatever you call God, and how because it kind of gives you hope and it gives you trust. And I think if you have a child that's looking for spirituality and may be having different beliefs than what you have, listen to them and really embrace that, because that is them. And maybe that's how they are meant to be. And just say, what can I do to support you? Because, family, and I know that a lot of families, you get life in the way, you're paying bills, you're you're running around, running all over town. But really, when it comes to the end, I think just trusting and loving each other and supporting each other in the spiritual realm. And I think that is just so important.
Yes. And one question that's coming to me now is, like, let's say you have a child that you feel have, an intuitive gift. And many parents, they sense that, right? Because it's not just something, your kids, right?
Right.
What would be the first thing that you would bring up with that child? Because I think that's a question that many are wondering, how to start the conversation about this. Because as you also experienced as a child, you thought this was normal,
Oh,
and
right.
not to be, you know, uh,
Yes.
appearing as if it was something different, or that they are different. How would you approach that?
And it really depends upon the age. Because the younger they are, you don't have to bring it up, because the children are going to be bringing up experiences. Oh my goodness, I talked to grandpa today. And so that would be a door opening to go ahead and talk about the conversation. And instead of just saying, oh, that's your imagination, really talk to them about it and talk about the experience. And I think that's the most important when they're younger, because they do kind of accept it as being normal in a way. And maybe talking to them and saying, this may be a little bit different for other people. Now, teenagers, and when they become socially involved and they know it's different and they don't want to be different, that is the most difficult stage in life. And of course, being a parent, you want to approach your child and they may just shut you down because you're the parent. So sometimes it may be a good conversation to have. I understand what you're going through. I'm going to support you spiritually. Maybe we can find somebody that you trust and that you can really talk to about. And so there's a lot of holistic stores that have programs that, you can call. A lot of psychic mediums that would, probably just love to talk to a child about how to embrace themselves.
Thank you for those recommendations, Michelle, because
Oh, absolutely.
it's really important not to ignore, so to say, when a child bring it
Absolutely.
up. That's what I'm hearing from you. Yeah.
That's exactly my parents. I mean, when I would tell them why I thought it was normal, they didn't really say anything. They just go, mm-hmm. And then that would be it. I'm going, okay. So
Yeah.
Right.
So for your own, in your own experience, what's the best thing that has come out of this journey of embracing your family's intuitive gifts on this journey?
Okay. Yes, my own families. Is that what you're talking? Okay.
Yeah.
It has been a great experience because whenever, I first came out of the closet, my kids, and of course I've got older children, they're, 30 in their 30s, and then I have one in her 20s, and they embraced it. They accepted it. They go, "Oh, mom, I'm glad," because I thought, they're going to really think differently of me. And they go, "Oh, no, mom, we're not surprised at all. I'm glad that, I think it was a good example for them to know you need to be your unique self." And then they started talking to me about their experiences that I didn't know that they had. And so all three of my kids have had some type of spiritual experience. And so we were able to have that open discussion. My mother is very intuitive, but she is afraid of it. And so I've opened up some conversations, and she asked me, she goes, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, "Because it is me. I'm being my authentic self. And I feel like I'm being called to become a psychic medium." And so she accepted that, but we don't really talk about it. It's not something that we talk about because I know she's uncomfortable with it.
Mm.
But she did like my Facebook business page.
Yeah.
So, you plant a seed along the way. So you will have probably family members that really don't want to talk about it or don't accept it. But again, you've got to be who you are in your family, and they'll eventually come around.
Such great advice, Michelle. I feel that this is something also that is going to become more mainstream, not only thanks to your book, but it's something that is going to be more talked about or acknowledged or seen for the power it actually provides in terms of your self-worth and living your truth and being who you are. So yes, I am totally with you there. Now, what are some of the tools and practices that has been most helpful to you, just on your own journey, but also in helping others?
Okay, well, for me, really identifying my energy and really understanding what was going on, yoga was the number one thing that really helped me. And again, I started yoga when everybody was going, "Oh, don't do yoga. They're gonna, brainwash you and all this." And I'm going, "No." And so I went to this wonderful center, and they taught yoga with meditation and with the breathing exercises. And I kept feeling all this energy around me, and I'm going, "This is wonderful." So it really helped me. I guess, get to know myself better and to slow my brain down because, our minds are going so fast all the time. And it was just a time for me to slow down. And that way I could really connect in with spirit, as I knew how to get that ego out of the way and calm everything down. And then really helping others. I feel like a lot of the readings I do, whenever I connect with them, my intention is always to help them heal. I mean, to me, a reading is all about healing. It's not about fun, about, "Oh, let's read some cards," that kind of thing. It is more about healing and just kind of guiding people to a better, I don't want to say a better them, but to really think about things that are happening in their life to help them along in their journey. Because sometimes you need somebody to say something and you go, "Oh, I never thought about that." And yes, and I do have a spirit team that is helping me along the way. But I always tell them that whatever message I have is for you and you alone. And if they can't accept the message, I'd always tell them, write it down, and within time, it will make better sense.
Yeah, such an important message that you're bringing up, and also going back to your point about yoga as a gateway to open up your not only getting to know your own energy, but also to kind of help align body, mind, soul, breath together in that
Absolutely.
experience. And I have a similar experience myself
Oh, really?
with yoga.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's another piece that seems to be very important also in this endeavor of connecting your spiritual self with your physical self and mental self, emotional self, is that getting to know the body, like the body's
Absolutely.
wisdom, and connecting with that. So I love that that was your gateway. It was similar gateway for me as well.
Oh,
So
well, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah. So when did you start your yoga practice?
Oh, that was a long time ago.
That's
Probably,
good.
20
Yes.
plus years ago,
Yeah.
and more. But I turned into becoming a teacher of yoga as well, but that was more
Wow.
recent years. But it's interesting you bring this up, because it's a similar experience of mine in terms of opening up to your more of yourself, basically. And
Absolutely.
um,
Absolutely.
now, if you were to give our listeners and viewers here 3 tips on, like, if they're curious about getting to the next step with this, let's say somebody is listening or viewing this and say, this is me, this is how I feel, what would you recommend somebody to do to start embracing their own gifts and talents, and intuitive gifts and talents, but also, as we've talked about, if somebody in their family is kind of in that same situation, in addition to get your book.
Oh, that's right. Buy my book.
The book's name is
Yeah.
Spiritual Nurturing for Intuitive Children. I just wanted to show you that again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what I would do, and who I'm mainly talking to are adults, because children will find that guidance, but really adults who are not for sure what to do. The number one thing is to, again, trust the process, get that vulnerability out, because that is the most scary thing. You got to get that fear out of the way and say, I'm going to be who I am, going to, show the world who I truly am. And then find people that are like you, because it's so important to surround yourself with people that have the same views, the same philosophy. And it just, I don't know, it's so much spiritual and uplifting when you do that. You just feel like, oh my gosh, I can talk all day to somebody. Like this conversation, I feel like we could talk all day. So, and then after that, make some goals for yourself, because really looking at, well, what talents do I have and what do I want to do with them? And always use your talents for the greater good, to help others. Because I think that when we do that, you're changing a little bit of energy to more positive energy. But everybody has different talents that they can do so.
Yes. And also what you're bringing bringing up is so important, that we find these like-minded groups where we
Yes.
actually can, not only get validation that this is perfectly normal for some, and also to, just create together and enrich our lives together. And I love that advice about seeking others out, because how many of us have not felt that we're alone? Like, I'm the only one.
I did for the longest time after I realized it's not normal. So, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we have the internet that we can open up now that we didn't have in the 70s. So people have the technology to reach out, but you have to reach out.
Yes. And I love that you also are focusing on children, because those are the at the ages, at least when you're minors, like, it's not that easy to reach out and connect with other children, for example,
Right.
that are in the same situation. So I think you're doing a really, really important piece of work here by embracing, helping others to embrace and help in their turn, not only within their own families, but helping to acknowledge this way of conversation, if you will.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the more, and I like what you said earlier too, that things are beginning to change and we're accepting it more and more. And I think that's exactly right. Since we're accepting it, now what do we need to do to help this generation?
Right.
And so that's kind of what the book did for me, is to put it on paper and to help other people get guided in that way.
Yeah.
So I just felt like it was definitely time. If I had written this 20 years ago, I don't think it would have been accepted. So I think now is definitely the time for it to come out.
Now is the time.
Now is the time.
So Michelle, how can we connect with you and connect with your work?
Okay. Go to my website. It's at www.michellehendersonmedium.com. And they can also reach me on Facebook. And I also have an Instagram account, and it's under the exact same thing, Michelle Henderson Medium.
Great. So before we wrap up this episode, Michelle, I want to ask you something personal, and that is, what do you live by?
Well, things change all the time. It depends on what stage of my life, but right now, like what we're talking about, is living my unique self. I can't tell you how much better I feel about life. And I feel like people now know who I truly am.
Such wise
just
word
live
there.
your unique self. Yes.
Thanks for sharing that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. And thank you for everyone that listened or watched today. You are all welcome to visit Michelle's website and learn everything about her and this important work. Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, well, thank you so much.